Hi guys, this is Chantal, and today I want to take you along with me on how I plan my garden. I'm going to be planning my vegetable garden today, and that's what we are going to talk about today. With me right here I have my gardening notebook, and I'm going to draw out the plan for the vegetable garden on it first. I'm going to draw what's there already, and then we will go on from there. So let's go ahead and get started. So we have 10 beds that are old raised beds, and those beds are 4 by 8, I believe. Yes, I think they're 4 by 8. And the new beds that we built this past year are 16 by 3. So I'm going to draw 2 separate papers for these, and I'll let you know why as we continue building this plan. So first I'm going to draw the old vegetable beds, and I'm not going to give them the proper dimension, but with here I have this lined paper. So for the lined paper I think I'll just do 4 lines going down like so for the 4 feet, and I'm gonna say I need it to be kind of feasible, so I'm gonna divide the page in half. I'm going to draw them into 3 inches in length. I know that doesn't translate properly to what I would have outside, but I'm drawing a rough plan. Sometimes I do kind of minimize it into a way where I can calculate either up or down by the size of the bed. So I would make it into a proper dimension that would translate into a smaller dimension on the paper. But this time I'm just doing a rough plan, because I've noticed that even though I do plan my garden, a lot of times I just deviate from my plan because I decide to plant something else instead of the thing that I decided to plant. And I like to be flexible this way, because sometimes when you put things on paper you might change your mind later and decide that you don't like what you have decided on earlier, so you might want to change your plan. And that's totally okay by me. This is why I'm very flexible. This is why I'm not making an exact plan over here. So I have these 2 beds right now, and my phone does not have a big storage. I was trying to use my phone's camera along with this camera just to make filming a little bit easier so that I don't have to move the camera constantly, but I think I'm gonna have to do that, because if I don't move the camera, I'm not gonna tinker with my phone right now. I believe I might be able to connect my phone to my computer and have it download the videos directly to my computer, but I don't want to risk it. I have to publish this video tomorrow, so I have to finish it tonight and edit it tonight and publish it for tomorrow. Schedule it for tomorrow. So anyways, right now I have 2 beds right here, and we have 10 beds in our old vegetable garden. So I'm going to draw out 5 on each side if I'm able to. If not, I'll just move along to another paper and continue that side of the vegetable garden over there. I feel like this is crooked. Something seems off. I think this is better. Anyways, let's continue. So I'm just going to continue over here, and again I'm going to try to draw 5 of these beds on each side. So this is the first thing I always start with. So I have all 5 old raised beds on this paper over here. And the next thing that I decide is which direction do I want these raised beds to be facing so that when I plan them, I know which direction, which raised beds I would be planting these things in exactly. Again, this is more of a loose plan, just to kind of give me an idea for when the season comes, what I would be planting in, or if I have to start seeds earlier indoors, what kind of seeds I would need to start indoors and how many of them. So for me, since this is north, I'm going to have these beds over here at the top, the beds that are north away from the house, and these beds at the bottom are the beds that are south or closer to the house. So I'm going to label them in that way. I also like to know which side is the side that is the left side, which side is the right side when I'm standing facing the house and looking at the raised beds. So this would be over here, this side right here. I don't know if you guys can see, it's kind of difficult for me to see on the video if you are able to see or not. So this side over here would be left, and this side over here would be right. Okay, so after I do that, now I have to go and look through my seeds, and let me show you my big stash of seeds that is totally and utterly disorganized. But I will be making a video on how I will be organizing my seeds, and I will share that with you probably after this video. I won't be able to do that today because I have to edit this video, but I will do that probably either tomorrow or the day after. I'll film that video for you. So here's one pile. I have seeds here that I didn't put away, seeds that I collected from the garden, seeds from Baker Creek from last year, seeds from MI Gardener over here, and that's one pile. So that's one over here. Okay. Oh, more seeds that I collected. These are some seeds that I collected a few years ago, and it's not a lot of seeds, but it's still something in here. I have some coriander, some peas, sugar and peas, some cucumbers, some sunflower seeds, some marigolds. Okay, and this one. This one came with me from our old house, so I have a lot of old seeds in here that I need to toss away. Some of these seeds are older than my children, so that's I've been slacking on organizing my seeds and tossing some away. I mean, this is my most organized box over here, so that's I kind of take pride in this one. I had it divided in flowers, vegetables, herbs, and I had even the vegetables divided into different sections inside it. And these are labels over here that I'm going to be using to label my stuff. I have some seeds over here. I think these were from Outside Pride, and this whole container was from Heaven's Harvest, and I still use a lot of these seeds that are in here. Some of the seeds I've never used because we just don't eat those vegetables, unfortunately, because we just kind of bought a packet of that they sell. So instead of choosing, we just kind of wanted to try out what they have, and a lot of these seeds are still good. So I will probably be planting some of them again. I have all these seeds, so I have to go through them. The plan that I have over here right now on this garden journal is for spring. I would have a plan for the spring and a plan for the summer and a plan for the fall. And I know that sounds like a lot, but I think it just helps me to be more organized, or at least if I don't have a plan like this, I like to use just a regular calendar and write down on it on each date what I'm going to be starting, what type of seeds I'm going to be starting on that date, and whether it's going to be direct sown or started indoors. If I have my old calendar, I could show you. Let me see if I can find it. I have no idea where that calendar went, but I think I explained that idea on how to do it on a calendar pretty well. You basically just write down, let's say on March, I don't know, March 11th, you want to start onions. I'm just throwing a number. I'm not saying that's when I would be starting them. I would write down onions, the type of onions I'm going to be starting, and whether I'm direct sowing them or starting them indoor. If I have any other seeds I'm going to be starting on that same date, I would also write that down in that same area. And it's just basically just for me to kind of know what I'm going to be starting that date, and on each day of the week or the month, or the assigned day of the week or the month, it helps to remind me when I should plant something, so that I don't just kind of forget about it. But this over here specifically not only helps me to decide what I'm going to be planting, but also how much I should be planting, because you know, I only have so much space to grow vegetables, and I also like to grow flowers in between to help with pollination, and as well with deterring insects or bringing in some predators that would eat the insects, the bad insects, and just add some beauty to the garden, so that when I walk into the vegetable garden, it just kind of welcomes me with its beauty, and not just, you know, with vegetables. Not that vegetables are boring, but I think with all the textures of the flowers and the vegetables together, it makes it really beautiful and an enjoyable space as well. So I'm going to look through my seeds right now to figure out what I'm going to be planting. Seeds. So these are all the seeds that I'm going to be starting in the spring. I know that looks like a lot. Not all of them are going to be direct sown. Some I have to start indoors and then transplant them outside, but most of them are going to be direct sown. And I have quite a bit of beds, and I'm not going to be planting a lot of each of them. Like for example, this kohlrabi over here, I'll probably just plant maybe like 3 or 4 plants of it. And you want to harvest them when they are still kind of small. I have one that I let grow into a gigantic, a huge head. It just continued to grow after the frost. Is still in the bed right now, but I'm going to be burying it with soil eventually. I was hoping it would go to seed, and maybe if I left it there for the whole season and then came back the next year or the next season, maybe it would throw seeds after the weather warms up. I don't know, but it was still going even until now, which is crazy considering that we had temperatures like around 3 Fahrenheit and 12 Fahrenheit and all that, so that's crazy. Very hardy plant. This is kohlrabi early purple Vienna. I'm going to go have some dinner and then I'll come back and sort this stuff up over here and figure out what I'm going to be planting in each of these beds. And we are also going to be drawing the other beds. I'll probably draw the new beds as well, just to kind of give me an idea of what I can put where. So most likely I won't be able to publish this video on Wednesday or tomorrow because I'm filming it on Tuesday night. So I have over here the old vegetable beds, and then over here I have the new beds, and I also have 2 beds that are connected together, separating the new beds from the old beds, and these are also new. And each of these beds are 12 by 3 feet, and they are over here. So you see this connection right there? This is where they're connected together, and they are vertical. So the beds, the old beds are going this way, and the new beds going this way, and these beds that I just showed you over here. The old beds over here are going to be for vegetables mainly, and I will also be integrating flowers with them. And the new beds, a lot of them are going to be eventually filled with perennials. So over here I already have, in this bed I have a grapevine, and the plan is hopefully that this year I'll be able to fill them all with grapevines over here. So I will have 2 grapevines in each of these beds, and I kind of want to keep them mostly free so that I have the space to plant the grapevines. I might be able to plant some stuff in the front, but I also have some strawberries that I will be transplanting. I have them planted in the flower beds and I let them produce a lot of runners, and then I'm going to be digging them up and I'm going to be planting them in front of the grapevines in these beds over here. Now I don't have enough strawberries to fill these 16 by 3 feet beds, but I will probably have enough to fill one side of the 16 by 3 foot beds. I want to leave space for the fall at least, so that I will be able to buy these plants and plant them in the fall if at all possible. And also I have here wild black raspberries growing in this bed over here where the well is right here next to it. So this is a smaller bed. I think it's like about 13 to 12 feet, I believe, something like that. On this side over here, my plan is to plant some blackberries. So that's the plan for these beds over here. So I need to be very careful on what to plant in these and when to plant. Now these 4 beds over here on this side, for now, are free and I don't have any plants for them. So we are going to be planting vegetables and flowers in them. I think one of them I'm going to be planting some potatoes, and so I need to keep that free from any spring planting because you can plant potatoes pretty early. And on these beds over here I'm going to be planting some things that can take a little bit of shade in the summer because the trees are going to be very close to them, and it's possible that they might shade them this year. I don't know. I mean, in the future these beds would probably become pretty shady, but I'll have to keep continuing to prune the trees in a way where we are able to to reach the fruits easily, and also to not shade the vegetable garden. The fruit trees were planted there before we moved into this house, so we, you know, that's where they stayed. And we're not planning on moving them. If something starts to hinder kind of the growth of the vegetable garden, I might think about planting a similar variety if we do like it in a different space in our garden. We have 2 acres, so we have plenty of space to plant stuff. Right now I'm going to focus on the old vegetable beds. So I forgot to put the trellises also. So over here, between these 2 beds, between this one and this one, and this one and this one, we have trellises that go around, so we can have also some climbing vegetables on these trellises. In this bed over here, I already have garlic. So this bed is taken already. So I have divided these plants into the same or very similar varieties, not same varieties. Like for example, over here I have the kohlrabi, I have turnips, radishes. Well, this is a turnip over here. These are the radishes. I have some. Yes, please. I have the beets over here, more turnips, some Asian turnips, and this is also a, oh, this is a radish, so it's going to go with the radishes over here. It doesn't really matter. They're, you know, it's very similar varieties. Also, that's a parsnip. I have here the parsnips, carrots, the fava beans. This is nasturtium, the peanuts, and the sugar and snap peas, sugar snap peas. And these are all the different varieties of cabbages, and also bok choy, some varieties of spinach, some flowers, and these are the different varieties of onions. And I just put the alyssum, the sweet alyssum, over here with them because sweet alyssum helps deter some bugs away from the onions because of its smell, so it kind of confuses them. And these are just a lot of leafy greens, so I kind of have, the different types of lettuces over here. I have some arugula, some, this is an Asian green. I haven't tried it yet. I bought the seeds last year, but I haven't had the chance to plant it. Some dill, Swiss chard, parsley, and different varieties of kale, and some collard greens. Now, this seems like a whole lot. I do have a lot of space, but I'm not going to be planting tons of these varieties. I haven't tried a lot of these varieties, especially over here. My plan was to plant a whole lot of these last year, but I did not have the time. So I'm trying to kind of figure out a way on how to try them all out. Maybe at the same time, since they all mature at different times. So what I'm going to do is maybe I'll plant 2 or 3 of each variety. This is a bok choy over here, this one. I haven't tried it, and I love bok choy, especially in stir fries, and I like to make a lot of stir fries in the summer. All these plants that I have over here are cool weather plants. So I'm gonna have to figure out how many of each of these I can fit and where I'm going to be planting them. I probably should not plant all of these in the same bed. Well, of course I can't fit them in the same bed, but I should divide them up with some sort of a flower or something that would both make it look beautiful and at the same time deter insects or confuses either with a smell. Like maybe I should include some parsley in there because parsley has more of a kind of a different smell than, I don't know how to describe it. Maybe it's a peppery smell or something like that. Maybe I should include some parsley in between the cabbages and some sweet alyssum as well to kind of confuse the bugs. I will try to keep a spraying regimen, which I would prefer not to, but the spray I would have to do if I see any aphids, because aphids live in the soil, and if there are aphids in the soil, they might go on the vegetables. So I would rather not spray, but if I have to, then I will. And so maybe I will keep the sweet alyssum in a separate bed, so if I do spray these vegetables over here, then I wouldn't be harming any beneficiary insects. So but I would probably include things like this parsley over here, and maybe something else that would kind of help deter insects in the spring season. In the summer, I could come here and maybe plant some zinnias or something like that, or in a close proximity to them, but what I will probably do is net these, maybe plant them in a couple beds together, and put a net over them. And same with the kale over here, because kale would last all throughout the season from spring all the way to the fall. So I've tried this variety last season. I didn't try it as eating it, but I planted it, and it was great. It grew really well and it performed really well. It produced a lot, but I wasn't able to actually eat off of it. And the collard green, this is from Heaven's Harvest, and this is a great variety. It doesn't mature very quickly, but it's still, you know, it can handle a hard frost, and so I can plant it all the way from the spring, and it would last us all the way through the fall, and I could harvest throughout the season off of it as well. And I don't use a lot of collard green. This is more of a supplementary thing for things like the cabbages. So when the cabbages are not haven't formed their heads yet, if I have a recipe that requires something like cabbage, I could use collard greens instead. And with the onions, I have a few favorite varieties, like this one, the yellow Spanish onion. I'm definitely going to plant a whole lot of that. Now with the red onions, I'm not sure honestly which one is my favorite variety, so I'm gonna plant the same amount of each of these onions. So I have the ruby red over here and the red burgundy, so I'm gonna try them both about the same amount. And this one, these don't form large bulbs, so I'm going to plant a smaller amount of these, but they are a little bit sweeter. I mean, you would be sacrificing the size for the flavor, or if you want to look at it this way. And we do use a whole lot of onions, and we have already used up all the onions that I planted, so I need a lot of onions. And I have some some bunching onions over here that I will be planting some of these also. Now I have some already that I have planted. They just keep seeding themselves everywhere in the garden, and they're growing in the walkway. So if they're still alive, I'll just transplant them. But if they're not alive, then I'll just throw some of these seeds in the ground, and they'll grow, and they'll grow throughout the summer, and I can keep harvesting off of them. They are practically a perennial. They're a biannual. So what they do is they produce the nice green stalk in the first season, and then the second season they throw this bloom stalk over here, and that bloom stalk gets full of seeds, and once they seed themselves, you just can't get rid of them. It's really hard to get rid of them. Or you can just harvest the seeds and sow them in your own in the places where you want them to be. So the second season, the leaves are not going to be as good. They're going to be a lot thicker and full of liquid. So you could still use them, but in cooking rather than in garnishing for fresh, you know, like rather than a fresh garnish over food or in a salad or something like that. So the second season, you'd be able to use them more in cooking. And if you cut their bloom stalks, they'll just continue to produce bloom stalks until they are able to produce seeds. Poppies, because I love them. And this is one of my favorite lettuce over here, and I'm going to be planting some of this hopefully inside if I have the time. and I'll also be planting some outside as well, and just all of this stuff. So I'm gonna try to figure out how to fit these in and where to put them, and I'll write them in here and then I'll get back to you guys. So I just want to say that as I'm looking at these vegetables to plant, if you want to decide what vegetables to plant when, you have to look at whether they are frost hardy. So on the package, usually they tell you if they're frost hardy and what kind of temperature they like to germinate and how long it takes them to sprout. Also it tells you the minimum sun that they require, the seed depth, and the ideal temperature that they prefer to be at. So this, I have over here the winter choy. Oh, it also tells you how far apart to space them from each other. So this says to space them apart 6 to 8 inches apart. So this does not require a lot of spacing. It's more of a smaller choy. So I think that I can get away with planting a whole bunch of them. So if I divide this section of the bed into 2 feet, I'll be able to plant quite a bit of them. So maybe I'll say 2 feet, each half a foot. I'm gonna be planting some. So that's the end of that over there. So I have over here, I'm gonna write in here that I'm going to be planting winter choy, and I'm gonna say 6 to 8 inches apart. I don't always put the spacing, like cabbage for example, I kind of know how far apart to space it, but for something that I'm not exactly sure how far apart to space them, I like to remind myself on how far apart to space them, and I usually go by the smaller side, and I tend to squish my plants a lot closer than what the packets say, because that's just how I am. I like to have a whole lot of plants in the bed to kind of minimize the weeds and have a lot more production. So over here I'm going to be planting some winter choy. I think probably planting on both sides would be really cool. So I'll have 2 feet here also of winter choy. So again, the beds are 8 feet. I don't know if you guys can see what I'm doing. The beds are 8 feet, so I have already taken 4 feet out of it. And if I plant this really cool kale, or maybe this beautiful kale over here, this kale sprouts 6 to 9 days. Is ideal temp. Its ideal temp is from 45 to 85 Fahrenheit, and you plant it 1/4 inch deep, and you space the plants 14 inches apart. So that's even less than a foot apart. So I could either choose to plant this kale, and I could harvest it throughout the season, or I could plant this kale. I mean, this is also I would harvest, but I would probably have a harder time harvesting this one since it looks so beautiful. But I'll still harvest. I'll probably end up harvesting the outer leaves because that's how I usually harvest the kale. So maybe what I'll do is I'll have both. So I have 4 feet left over here in this area. So I can have I can have over here the Japanese flowering kale on both sides. It's kind of squished, oops. So Japanese flowering kale. And then in the middle, I'll have a kale that's going to grow larger. Now this one over here is probably going to end up being shaded, so it won't grow as big. So maybe instead of the Japanese flowering kale, I wish I had a pencil instead of this pen over here. Usually I have a pencil. I'll have to plant something that's tall over here. So I think I'll save this spot until after frost, and I'll plant zinnias in here. Hopefully they'll be able to sprout no problem if the kale isn't shading them too bad. So maybe I'll have to start them ahead of time and then plant them here. I'll just plant them in here and see how they do. Or I could plant sweet alyssum in here. So I have options. And that's why I kind of keep the plan loose, because that allows me to change it however I want. So either zinnias or sweet alyssum. So I could plant the sweet alyssum early spring, no problem, because you sow them on the surface of the soil and they're pretty easy to sprout. And then over here I'm going to have the Russian red kale, and I'll probably have 2 plants of that. 2 or 3 plants. Probably 2 plants, so that I could grow, so the stuff that are over here would not get crowded by the kale, because kale gets pretty big, especially in the summer. It just becomes this enormous thing, so I don't want these things over here to suffer from this kale, so I'll just plant 2 of them over here. And just one more thing over here with the Giant of Italy parsley. A parslaholic. So I do a lot of tabbouleh in the summer. I mean, I would love to do with tabbouleh now, but parsley is pretty expensive right now, and I don't have any growing in my basement. So I will have to dedicate one bed, just strictly one bed full of parsley. So I think I could plant it near this bed over here, so I can plant it either here or here. I'll probably plant it over here because I think last season, no, the year before that, I had parsley over here. And then last year I had some onions here, and I don't know what else I ended up planting in here. So over here, actually I had forget-me-nots that just kind of took over this bed. And I don't mind, because they're my son's favorite flower and I like them. The bees love them. It's one of the colors that the bees love, because they're this vibrant blue color. It's a true blue flower. They do seed themselves everywhere, but it's okay. It's easy to pull them. It's not a big deal. So I'll plant over here. This whole bed is going to be dedicated to parsley, with exception to this side over here. On this side, I can plant whatever I want, and since it is going to be spring, I'm going to be planting a whole lot of sugar snap peas. Last spring, I had some fava beans in here, so I'm not going to be planting them in here. Not that it matters, but just because there was a root rot in here, I believe, I'm not going to plant them in here, just in case if there was any disease that they could carry again. I don't want to risk it. And I'll also plant some sugar snap peas on this side as well. I know, like I said, it seems like I have a lot, but really, you know, I'm planting a little bit of everything, so it makes it that I have a lot of beds that could be free potentially for whatever I want to plant in them later. Like this bed over here, that's going to be free because I'm going to be planting potatoes in this bed over here, because of the way how I prepared it. I believe that it's going to be ready to receive some potatoes, because if you've seen my video on how to revitalize garden soil in your raised beds, you would know the reason why I believe that I can plant potatoes in here, because potatoes love a very rich and organic soil. They love it to be rich in organic material and to be super fluffy. And the soil that we have in most of the beds is very dense, and I have been working on all the beds for several years, but they're still not in prime condition to grow potatoes. So I believe that after preparing this bed though, that I'm going to be able to grow potatoes in here. So I think I'm going to grow the fingerling potatoes in here. And in this bed over here, also, that bed is going to be, this is the new bed on the new side. This is going to have russet potatoes, and I've decided that this year I'm just going to grow 2 types of potatoes, not other than sweet potatoes, of course, because these are the types of potatoes that we love and that I find myself using. Wow, that's not potatoes, that's potes. Talking and writing, very distracting. Russet. Is that how you write? No, that's russet. Okay, russet. I believe it's 2 S's, right? Don't laugh at me. I'm not an expert in spelling the varieties of potatoes. Sorry about that. Anyway, so that's a 16-foot by 3-foot bed. So planting it with russet potatoes I think is going to be good, especially I put tons of compost in this bed. So again, lots of organic material in here that the worms are going to be working on filling this bed with a whole lot of organic material. Again, if you watch my video on You've Been Composting the Wrong Way, again, you'll see why I suggest, why I believe this. So I have 2 different videos about, revitalizing your garden soil. I spoke a whole lot on it on this video, and then in this video where I was working on this bed over here in the new garden, I talked about what I believe is the proper way of composting and the reasons why. And so this is why, if you're interested, I'll be linking these videos in the description box below, and probably I'll link one of them at the end of this video so you can click on it and watch it after this video is done. So this is why I believe these beds are going to be great for growing potatoes in them. I'm crossing my fingers and hoping that this would be the case. Okay, so I got my kale and my choy over here. I think that's enough kale for me because I could just keep harvesting off of these for a long time. And the sugar snap peas as well. We got that done. So I need a bed for lettuces. So I just added soil to this bed. I did not put compost in here because I didn't have any. But if I provide it with a whole lot of nitrogen fertilizer, then I would probably be able to grow some good lettuce in here. So I could try growing lettuce in here and different types of greens. So I want a good amount of these, so I'll probably grow 4 of these heads so that we could just have them for salads. And I don't have to have them grow to full heads. I could have them grow, not super large. And the tag over here says to separate them 6 inches apart. So I think 6 inches apart, 4 feet. So I would have a whole lot of them. So probably I'll just have just this one side. I'll have the May Queen lettuce over here. Who am I kidding? I'm gonna have them grow into heads, so we're gonna have a whole lot of salads. We'll just do May Queen lettuce over here. No, I'll do carrots over here. I'll do carrots over here. Where are the carrots? There we go. And that's the scarlet carrots. And over here I'll do that's just 1 foot each of each of these, and again 1 foot, so that's already 3 feet taken out of the bed. I'm gonna do romaine lettuce over here. And I need some height in here, so I'm gonna have some dill in the middle. So I'm gonna have this dill grows how tall? 1 to 2 feet tall. That's not super tall, so and the plant spacing, where's the plant spacing on this one? 18 inches apart, so I can grow about 3 plants because I'll have them cascade over the side, over here and over here, and then 1 in the middle. So I'll have dill over here, 1, 2, 3, ducat, dill. I hope this video is helpful to you guys. I hope what I'm doing makes sense. And then just to kind of have some harmony over here, I'll repeat the same things on this side. I think some poppies on this side. I'm gonna say I want the purple peony poppy on this side. Where's the R? And I'm gonna have some, I'll do some more romaine lettuce. So I have 1 foot, 1 foot. Actually, I'll take that back. I'll do some scarlet carrots again over here. And then over here, this 1 foot is going to be for the May Queen lettuce. Okay. So I can continue this tomorrow. You don't have to see every single thing that I do. So basically that's the idea. I have potatoes over here. I have over here May Queen lettuce, carrots, romaine lettuce. I have some dill, and then the pattern repeats. So I do like to make my beds also look beautiful and be functional at the same time. And I also, like I mentioned earlier, I look at the tags to see the spacing and if they are frost hardy or not. If they're frost hardy, then they're gonna go in my either in my spring or in my fall planting. And I like to plan like this for spring, summer, and fall. So one thing I did not mention is I like to date these. So I'm going to put over here spring 2023. So this way, if I want to look back at what I have planted in here at the general idea, then I would have this plan over here. Things might change, but at least I would have an idea sort of what I planted. Now I could be more accurate and I could have these written in pencil, and then I can come back here and change them if I have changed my plans, and erase something and write what I planted in its place. But that's the general idea. Again, you want to pay attention to the plant spacing, to whether it's frost hardy, and to the temperature, the ideal temperature that it likes to grow at. So some things like broccoli, for example, there's no purpose for me in growing it in the spring because it just won't form heads for me. I did grow some cauliflower, it's the same thing with the broccoli, but because I had it under a frost cover and I was able to plant it super early, it actually formed a medium size head. I wouldn't call it large head, but my plan for this season is to start the broccoli and cauliflower indoors. About, what is it?
Can I have the house?
What?
Can I have the house?
You want to have the house? Yes, sure. In your room, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. I forgot what I was saying. So yeah, about broccoli and cauliflower. My plan is to start the broccoli and the cauliflower after the last frost indoors, probably like the week where we are going to have our last frost. I'll start it indoors so that it could grow indoors for about 2 weeks or 3 weeks maybe, and then harden it off and bring it outside so that they can grow outside in the warmer temperatures, because over here we don't have a long spring. So if I plant the broccoli and the cauliflower outside during the spring season, they just don't grow big heads, and they bolt once the summer hits, even though we might not have as severe of temperatures as some of you guys might in some of your climates. So I hope I'm not missing anything. I hope I was clear in my explanation on how I plan my garden. If you guys found this video helpful, please hit the like button, and if you like this video, and if you are new here, don't forget to subscribe if you like these kinds of videos, and hit the bell to receive notifications of whenever I upload new videos. And if you also plan your garden, please leave a comment in the comment section down below and let others know how you plan your garden. And I would also love to see it, because I love to see how you guys plan your gardens, and maybe I'll be inspired by you, and maybe I'll change some of the ways how I plan my garden and make it more and make it easier and more streamlined for me and for my garden and for my family. So I'll be leaving for you guys a couple videos to watch over here. I'll leave the video of how to revitalize your garden beds, or your garden soil. I don't know what I named it, but I'll leave it for you on this side over here, and I'll leave another video for you on this side over here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.